Michael Barrow. I'm president of Miami Beach United. How many folks are Miami Beach United members in the room? Hands? Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Allison and the Miami Beach Women's Club, thank you for hosting us. We really appreciate it. It's a lovely place. Allison asked me a day or so ago if she should set up a few extra chairs. We might have folks might want to get out after the big emotional event with the storm, and it looks like that was the case. So anyway, welcome. Stacy Kilroy, who is also a Miami Beach board member. Stacy will be co-moderating the debate tonight. And welcome to the candidates. We'll talk in just a moment about the format. I'll let Stacy talk about this format. Do we have elected officials here? Commissioner Malikoff, thank you for coming. I saw Commissioner Steinberg. Yeah, thank you.
Kristen's here. Kristen's here.
Sorry? Commissioner Gonzalez is here. Thank you for coming. Great. Former Commissioner Esposito is here. Yeah, thank you.
Maddie Bauer.
Former Mayor Maddie Bauer is here. Yes. And Commissioner Alamon. I have my contacts now. Very good. So I'm going to let Stacy. Should we thank everybody?
I don't know.
I'm going to let Stacy talk a little bit about the format, just briefly. Introduce herself and talk about the format. And then Tanya, who's also one of our board members and VP of Marketing and Communications, and helps out with membership, and talk a little, just for a moment, about what it's like to be an MBU member.
Well, I'll let Tanya talk about the more particulars about what it's like to be a member. I just want to let you all know that we're here today solely for the membership and the residents of the city as a service to the city, and that's what all of our forums and all of our education is about. It's about having free speech together, and though we don't all get along with our political opinions, we've all united as an organization to give you incredible forums and a credible process so that we can figure this Miami Beach unique way of life thing out together and get it solved and get it going. So today what we're going to do with our format is we have a format and rules. It's pretty simple. We're going to have opening statements, which will be 3 minutes each. Each candidate gets 3 minutes. At 15 seconds remaining, there'll be a warning, and then there'll be a time. We are so fortunate today to have as our timekeepers the Miami Beach High School Speech and Debate team, which I'd like to recognize right now. We have Mia, Leon, and Scott, who all practice a different type of speech. Dramatic interpretation, public forum, and oratory. So there are many different types of free speech, and this is how our high schoolers can get involved in this process. After the opening statements, 3 minutes for each candidate, okay, we're going to have questions and answers. Each question will be answers to each candidate. You will have 1 minute to answer the question. If the moderator feels that there will be room for a follow-up, there will be another 1 minute follow-up. You will get your time signals from the timers. So you will have 1 minute to answer, and then you're done. If the moderator asks you again, then we go. If not, we will call the name of the next person to ask. Okay. So this is how the questions will go. And then, of course, each of you will have a 3 minute closing statement at the end as well. Are there any questions that I'm very excited about our timekeepers.
Yeah, I think the timekeepers are going to maintain a tight leash, so watch out. And this is Tanya Bach, board member in Miami Beach United.
Hi, everybody. Thank you all, candidates, audience, elected officials, current and former. Thank you all for coming out. It's a great turnout today. And as Stacy said, this is exactly what Miami Beach United is all about. It is by residents, for residents, to open the lines of communication about issues that affect the entire city. So you don't need to be a homeowner, you don't need to be a business owner in the city, you just need to live here and have an opinion and want to get informed and help create a better Miami Beach for all of us. And I think that's the one true thing that unites all of us in this room today. And I would hope that if you're not already a member of Miami Beach United, you'll consider after this event joining. It's a great deal, let me tell you, such a deal. I'm saying it is actually a really good deal this time to join because the membership will carry you all the way through to the end of 2018. I was asked, what is it like to be a member? It's fabulous. You get to meet all kinds of interesting people. You get to really get into the meat of issues. You get to speak to your elected officials. You get to speak to people who want to be your elected officials. You get to make connections throughout the city on issues that are important in ways that you might never have imagined. And I think that's what is so critical about community. So it's a $25 a year membership fee. It includes support for events like this, for forums on topics that might interest you, like sea level rise and climate change resilience and historic preservation versus development, and what to do about the entertainment district on Ocean Drive, which in fact is our next event coming up in October. And you can sign up with us tonight at the end of the event, or you can go to miamibeach.org, miamibeachunited.org and sign up online. You can find us on Facebook if you're still waffling a little bit, you want to get more information at Miami Beach United on Facebook. It's a very active and vibrant community, and we'd really like you to be a part of it. So please consider doing that.
And if you join before the 23rd of October, we have a member event at Freehand Miami, which will be members only. You'll be invited to that event, and actually this is the real reason why you join an organization. All those people, those issues you really want to talk about and go out, this is actually it. We actually do it. We meet socially and we actually discuss things, and so it's been a wonderful addition to the calendar at Miami Beach United.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to get started. The three-minute opening statements. Oh, just also, many people always ask, Miami Beach Commission candidates run in groups, and this is group 2 and group 3. So when you go to cast your ballot, Michael and Adrian are competing for that seat, and Michael and Mark and Raphael are competing for the other seat. That's why they're seated the way they are. So just to kind of help you visualize, how it works. So we're going to ask, we're going to go in alphabetical order, and we're going to get started and ask each one in alphabetical order to come down and give an opening statement, and then the closing statements will be in reverse alphabetical order. So, who's up first?
First name or last name?
Last name, yeah.
I think there's more than was before the others. Hi. All right, we're going to do our alphabet. Good evening, everybody. My name is Michael Goncora. I had the privilege of representing the residents of Miami Beach between 2009 and 2013 as Commissioner Group 3, the seat I am running again for now, currently held by Commissioner Malakoff. Those 4 years were a wonderful time for me and for our city. But my history with Miami Beach starts long before. I was born here in Miami-Dade County to a Cuban father, who's in the audience, and an Alabama mother. I've lived in this county my entire life. I moved, my entire adult life, I should say. I moved to Miami Beach over 25 years ago. It was right after Hurricane Andrew, when I was a law student, and I chose Miami Beach to be my home. I came from way far away, from Coral Gables, because I loved this city. And since that time to today, I have been a part of the fabric of our community. I got involved at a young age in civic activism and leadership. I was president of the Miami Beach Latin Chamber of Commerce, the Environmental Coalition of Miami and the Beaches, the Miami Beach Bar Association, which is the lawyers group, and had really understood our community before filing to run for office. My time in office was marked by many successes. I have a track record that any of you can look up and see my votes on a number of issues. To highlight some of the things that I did, back in 2007, I created the city's Sustainability Committee and was the first chair. We immediately tackled problems facing our city, such as flooding, recycling, how to keep our city dry, rising tides, and global warming. I'm very proud of the leadership of that committee and how it has grown and morphed under the present administration. 4 years ago, I ran for mayor. I came within less than 30 votes of being in a runoff election. I can tell you that winning is better than losing. But I continue to stay active in our community. I've been right there as a resident and as an activist. Like many of you in this room that serve on neighborhood association boards, including Miami Beach United, I serve on the Mid-Beach Neighborhood Association board where I live, and we fight for issues that impact our residential quality of life. We have a number of critical issues facing our city, and Tanya listed some of them. We know what they are living here: traffic, development, mass transit, crime, education, and now, most recently, resiliency in the face of a storm. So sometimes it's not about knowing the issues, it is about what candidate is most qualified to lead our city through these difficult problems and those issues. I am that candidate. So I'm here tonight to ask for your vote one more time for your old friend of many years that you can count on to do what's right for our city, Michael Gongora. Thank you.
Adrian, you're more comfortable where, excuse me, where Mike was, or are you welcome to come to the podium? Your choice. Okay. Time, please. Time.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you, MU Beach United, for creating this event this evening. My name is Adrian Gonzalez. I'm a homegrown candidate, raised, educated, employed, and now second-generation small business owner of a small business that my family started back in 1977 on 11th and Collins called David's Cafe. I have been very blessed to be in this city to watch all the evolutions it's gone through from God's waiting room to the gem that we are here today. My parents embarked into this city many years ago, and they saw their diamond in the rough. They saw the city with so much potential. They believed in giving back into the community. They believed in everything related to neighborhood, people, community. I am blessed to be able to follow in my parents' footsteps. I've been involved with everything from local high schools, from Beach High, which I was very blessed to be able to start a culinary program this past year. I've been on the Mercantile Association, which was the forefront leader to the revitalization of Lincoln Road, to being on the Transportation and Parking Board, to now the Visitor Convention Authority. My family was always in the background, helping all different politicians make this city work from the bottom to the top. I believe that I am the man for the job. I've been here all my life. I've seen the pains. I've seen the triumphs. I've seen everything happen in this city. There's a lot of challenges coming in this city, as every major city happens, between the ever-growing traffic that basically paralyzes the city on a regular basis. There's a lot of elevation of crime. There's ever-growing flood, which is, at the end of the day, a worldwide problem which we have to stay in front. I believe that we need someone that's been in the trenches, getting their hands dirty, not scared of what people say or what people do. I'm all about this city. I'm in love with this city. I have a massive passion affair with this city, which I'm blessed to be. I'm also a husband, a father of 2 beautiful boys, and now living in a city that I can't imagine living elsewhere. I ask you guys all tonight, please challenge all your candidates, including myself. Ask all questions of everything you can think of, and get to know us. Get to know who are the people that you want to run your city and be there for you. My name is Adrian Gonzalez. I'm running in Group 3 to replace the Honorable Joy Malakoff that will be retiring at the end of her term. Thank you all.
Good evening,
Good
everyone.
time, guys.
Time, someone say time? There you go. My name is Mike Grego. I am your city commissioner. I'm the only elected official on the dais. I haven't really prepared any remarks. It's been a long 2 weeks. And I'm sitting up there and I'm listening to Michael and Adrian give great speeches. And I'm thinking about what to say. And, okay. I look around this room, let me get a show of hands. Raise your hand if you've either called me, or emailed me, or texted me, or reached out to me through social media because you needed help. That's the kind of commissioner that I promised I was going to be 4 years ago. That I would always get back to you. The number one job of a commissioner is constituent casework. You can talk about all the 30,000-foot projects and all these grandiose ideas. I can hear the herald writing. That's how vigorously they're writing right now. But you can think about all of these big projects, but if you can't be responsive to the electorate on a one-on-one basis, then you shouldn't be in office and you shouldn't run for office. And I gotta give my former opponent credit, because George Esposito was actually very good at that. Because 4 years ago, I unseated George, and I love you, George. I have a lot of respect for him. But when you're running against a sitting commissioner, you have to be able to articulate how you're going to do the job better. I have the job now, and it's because I love Miami Beach. I owe everything to this city. I owe my family, I owe my career, I owe the loss of my voice for what I've been doing for this city over the last 2 weeks. And I wanted to give back. I first stood up and I was an activist in my own neighborhood before I ran for office. Prior to that, I was a prosecutor with the state attorney's office for 6 years. I've always wanted to give back. And I've spent the last 4 years bleeding and sweating for every single person in this room and every single person in this city, trying to do the best job I can. And I challenge you to find someone over the last half a decade in this city who has worked harder or done more for you when it comes to the day-to-day quality of life here in the city of Miami Beach. Now, one thing I want you to do during this debate is I want you to listen to questions, and I want you to listen to whether or not people actually answer the questions. My name is Michael Grego. I am your commissioner. I'm asking for you to re-elect me as your commissioner. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Mark Samulin, and thank you for coming out tonight. Our upcoming election is taking place under some highly unusual circumstances. I won't belabor all the clouds surrounding one of my opponents, as the facts and multiple investigations have become very well documented. The obvious takeaway is that trust should really be your most important consideration. So let me tell you a little bit more about me and why I hope you will trust me and I'll earn your vote. As an engineer and business executive, I bring specialized expertise that can really help. With the lessons from Irma, sea level rise, and flooding, now is the time for an engineer on the commission. I put residents first. I've demonstrated this through my advocacy as the past president of this fine organization, Miami Beach United. And together we had real success. We helped stop the train to nowhere with the first public forum, and that project was shelved within 90 days. The Coalition for Causeway Chaos said we were instrumental in helping to stop a disastrous development on Watson Island, which would have had incredible traffic impacts on the MacArthur Causeway. We got the commission to unanimously pass the residents' right to know. groundbreaking legislation by working and visiting with neighborhoods across this community. While I'm proud of what we've done, I'm equally proud of how we've done it. Community building, like the commission, is a team sport. The last thing we need are individuals constantly grandstanding for their own good. I take the role of being a community leader very seriously. You'll always be proud of the way I conduct myself and represent you in the community. My decisions will always put principle ahead of politics and special interest. I also want you to trust your city government even more. And that's why, like in 2015, I am calling for a special independent inspector general. We need it. We need it when we were missing the $3.6 million. We need to address fraud, waste, and abuse. And frankly, we need it for the situation with the PAC in my race right now. While I hope my message has been compelling, you don't just need to listen to me. There are 9 current and former elected officials that have endorsed in my race. They know me from Miami Beach United on the board. They know one of my opponents from serving with them on the dais. And right now, all 9 are with me. That's former Mayor Matty Bauer, Ricky Ariola, Joy Malakoff, George Esposito, Saul Gross, Nancy Liebman, Jose Smith, Ed Tobin, and Dee Dee Whitehorn. They're the folks that know us. They're the folks that know the job. So I hope that I have earned your trust like they have trusted me. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. It's about issues and values. Remember that. It's about issues and values. When we talk about issues, everybody wants to know about issues. Where do you stand on issues? And that's a major problem that most people have, that they simply don't give you an answer. I have, if you go on my website, you see all the issues you're interested in. You won't see my stand on issues. You know, make sure that when you go on any other candidate's website, that you see the issues too. It's not about endorsements. It's about issues. What can we do for you? So that is something very important. Issues. However, I want you to know that issues can change by the day. However, values cannot. And that's really what's most important, and what the challenge that I want to give to you is, when you make a decision on who you want to vote for, you have to understand what are that person's values, what does that person stand for, what was a person's life, and what has this person lived through. These are things that make us a person that we are today. And when the issues change, and they may change any day, you know that that person reflects the values that you want in a leader that will make decisions for you. So, if you come out of one thing today, only one thing, I want you to get to know me a little bit better. The issues you can read on my website. However, I want you to get to know Rafael. Rafa. I want you to get to know me a little bit. And I want to share a few things with you. However, back to the issues. Again, you can look him up on the website. I'm very happy and feel very honored, that Mayor or future Mayor Dan Gelber, my opponent Mark Samuel, they have signed on to the public corruption battle that I'm leading, the issue that I'm heading, that I'm advocating, the creation of an office of an Inspector General in Miami Beach, because we need to clean house. This is very simple. We need to clean house. We need to make sure that mismanagement, fraud, and thieves are not working for us in government. We need to make sure that when we have a budget, that budget is not misspent on creating jobs that don't further any purpose. We need somebody that stands up for us. And I want you to know that. But let's get to the value. Who am I? Who's Rafael Antonio Velasquez? I'm an immigrant. I'm a father, proud father of 2 girls, and I'm a Democrat. Yes, I'm a Democrat because I believe in healthcare, I believe in education, I believe in rights for immigrants, and I believe in you. I don't chase after any endorsements, running behind elected officials who get their pictures. I want your endorsement. That's what it's like. Thank you.
We'll move to the next segment of our forum. Each candidate will be given 1 minute, and it'll be shortened to 1 minute to answer the questions. I would ask if you would please, at this point, hold applause. Otherwise, we're going to be here all night. So, maybe at the end when we do the closing statements, we can do the applause again. But please hold it for now, and I'm going to let Stacy get started.
One of the other things we'd like to remind everybody today in the audience, and of course our esteemed guests, is that we would like your answers to the questions and your answers to be about you. We are interested in you and not your opinions of the other people on the stage. And we want to make that very clear today as a parameter that we are talking about the candidates and not what they think of each other. Have a question, and then we're going to alternate, and Michael will ask a question. Would you like me to start? Okay. So, leading off today, I'd like to talk about the weighty subject of commercial intrusion in residential areas. Okay. Some commercial uses have impacted on the peace and quiet of residential neighborhoods, and possibly they've impacted on our property values. Examples include high-intensity outdoor uses at the commercial edge or short-term rentals within residential zones. What should the city do to protect residential interests when there is a conflict? Okay, we're alphabetical.
How do you guys get 3 of those?
What should the city do to protect residential interests when there is a conflict? Time.
Okay, this is an issue that I dealt with as commissioner previously on the Land Use and Development Committee. One of the things that we did when these commercial uses were intruding the West Avenue neighborhood and were intruding into the residential neighborhood near the convention center, we put a moratorium on future commercial uses. I believe that has stayed intact. However, there were things that were grandfathered in. So we're going to have to take a comprehensive look as to where we want to zone commercial uses. My preference would be to keep commercial uses out of residential neighborhoods and in the areas where they tend to belong: Washington Avenue, Collins Avenue, Ocean Drive, and the like. Part of the job as being commissioner will be to protect our neighborhoods from further uses and to ensure better planning. If elected, and I hope to be back on the Land Use and Development Committee to use my legal experience and my land use experience to be able to sponsor, support, and pass legislation to prevent further intrusion.
I think me personally, Adrian Gonzalez, I feel that there's no need to have commercial use areas in residential. There's a reason why it was designed and divided. Granted, there is the grandfathered in, I guess I want to say, loophole, which happens in a lot of neighborhoods. We need to monitor as a city. The city has a lot of authority, but when it comes down to it, comes down to the residents. We all vote on what we want our city to do. We give them direction. If I am elected as your commissioner, I'm going to be the one listening to everything you guys have to say. Commercial industry does not belong. Airbnb does not belong in residential. There's a reason why it's residential. There's a reason why it's commercial when it comes down to it. They should be separated at all costs moving forward. That is my opinion.
The best way to know what somebody is going to do is to look at their voting record, or at least if somebody has one. And in my case, I have not only a consistent voting record where it doesn't belong, but I also have the same thing when it comes to short-term rentals. In fact, I was the sponsor of the short-term rental task force, which is the first time we've actually proactively gone out and found and investigated short-term rentals where they do not belong. I also supported and sponsored the legislation that prevented future short-term rentals in condominiums that did not want it, even if it was zoned for short-term rentals, further protecting the residential interest and the interest of both condo owners and single-family homeowners. There are mixed-use neighborhoods that work, and I have been the sponsor of 2 a.m. limitations on noise and entertainment in south of 5th, Sunset Harbor, 41st Street, and West Avenue since I've been in office. So how you vote and what you sponsor, what you do in office, I've already done it and I'll continue to do it for the next 4 years.
I think we do need to do a much better job protecting the integrity of our neighborhoods. We need much better zoning and planning. One of the things that I've done as a volunteer that I think is going to really help is the right to know. When things are happening in your neighborhood, now for the first time, residents will get notified and have the opportunities to give input. Finally, when we actually do have conflicts, we need to work to bring people together. That's my style. That's what I know how to do. But ultimately, we need to put the priority on the safety and the integrity of our residents. So when it comes push to shove, I'm going to land with the residents. That's what I've been doing before. That's what I'll do in the future.
Okay, straight up. It's about protecting the character of our community. Protecting the character of our community. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that the residents are always right. It doesn't mean that you always stand with the residents. No, it means that you stand for Miami Beach. And if that sometimes means that we need to stand for tourism, we need to protect the character of our city as a tourist capital in the world. We need to understand that if companies come to Miami Beach and they start buying buildings and trying to turn them into hotels, those are threats to the character of our community. Those companies we need to punish, we need to deter. However, if you go on vacation and you want to rent out your place while you're in New York for 2 weeks and you do that incidentally, we don't want to come down on you. You're your property owner. It's your property and you have the right to use your property as you please. I stand with the character of our city, with the residents, and with the small businesses. Thank you.
Time. All right. Thank you. So the next question will be in reverse alphabetical order, okay? The question is this: do you consider yourself a preservationist? I was asked this question a few months ago. I thought it was a great question. So do you consider yourself a preservationist? Why or why not? What conditions, if any, should merit an exception to preservation requirements? And at what point should a building be considered designated as historic? How many years? How long? Raphael?
Well, I don't like labels. Preservationist, I mean, the word sounds very nice, right? I mean, if I just grab by that, say, I would love to be preservationist. But the fact is that I do stand for maintaining the historic character of our community. For protecting our neighborhoods from developers that come in and want to try to commercialize Old Miami Beach and change the character overall. I am for preserving the character and I will defend and stand up for that. However, not everything is worth preserving. Some buildings, some structures are just simply old. And if there's a good plan in place that will allow for that structure, for that building to be demolished, and we can increase the property value of all the owners that live around, and we can benefit our entire community, then I'm all for it. I am for smart development. I'm not on the label of preservationist. However, I protect the character of our community. Thank you.
I consider myself an admirer of preservation. I think there's no doubt that preservation, our historic character, has played a critical role in the history of Miami Beach. It's also helped our economic development. Having said that, in terms of specific conditions, for me, it's all about the proper balance. And I think the example that I would highlight that best brings one of my values and where I think the appropriate role for preservation is the North Beach Master Plan. The magic of that community process was there was preservation, and we made a decision to preserve the local character of our neighborhoods, and that was absolutely correct. And at the same time, we recognized the importance of development and having a revitalized Main Street town center. And for me, it's that balance which fits my values perfectly.
So it was a yes or no question. And the answer,
Well, it was, do you consider yourself a preservationist, yes or no, and why or why not?
so based on my voting record, yes, I consider myself a preservationist. So I'm actually answering the question. So my voting record over the last 4 years, I voted in favor of 2 local historic districts. I have sponsored and voted in favor of 2 individual buildings, giving them individual historic designations, as well as protecting Flamingo Park, North Beach, Mid Beach. There's a difference between being a preservationist and talking about balance and development. You need to protect buildings, whether they be Art Deco, whether they be MIMO. And you need to have an understanding and appreciation for it. It's actually taken my time in office to both understand and appreciate what it means to do that. And I've let my voting record speak for itself when it comes to preserving not just the single-family homes, but also for protecting the Art Deco buildings in South Beach and the MIMO buildings in North Beach. I also was involved in co-sponsorship of making sure that the buildings, the single-family homes in Mid Beach, were actually going to be smaller in size moving forward.
Do I believe that I believe in historical preservation? Absolutely. I think it's the fiber and the backbone of any community and defines it by far. I also believe that it's within reason. I live in a 1935 home. It's a beautiful home. We love it. We restored one of Carl Fisher's first homes that he built in Miami Beach over our property in 11th and Collins, which was a very costly, expensive process and frustrating, but I was okay with it. What doesn't make sense to me was the fact that we wanted to lift it, turn it so that it faced 11th Street and it would preserve the beauty of it and people would appreciate it. I don't agree with putting the beautiful facade of the front in front of the back of my second-story building. Made no sense to me. Bottom line, I love history, I love preservation, and I think it's so important for our future generations to come as my boys to appreciate it and preserve 100%.
Yes, I consider myself a preservationist. When I served on the commission previously under Mayor Matty Bauer, a very vocal supporter of preservation, I really learned a lot. And I appreciate the faith she had in me for sharing our Land Use and Development Committee, knowing I was going to stand up and do what's right for our community. Some examples of good preservation, really, that saved Miami Beach was the saving of the Art Deco buildings along Ocean Drive and the Flamingo Park neighborhood and Collins Avenue. Without that historic district, I don't believe Miami Beach would have had the renaissance that we saw in the 90s. It was a bunch of factors working together, but that was one of them. And preservation is really about law and land use regulations, and having somebody there that understands them, understands where preservation works and where it doesn't. Because sometimes good preservation isn't saving the whole building, sometimes good preservation is saving a facade and leaving other parts that you can't save, such as the Betsy Post House recent project.
All right, moving on. Now we're going to move on to the subject of transportation. In our annual resident survey, only 8% of residents feel the flow of traffic in Miami Beach is excellent or good, while 59% feel the flow of traffic in the city is poor. And honestly, the coordination and collaboration with the county and FDOT on transportation projects can be called nothing short of a hot mess. What are y'all going to do about it in the next 12 months, specifically?
Back to me?
Back to you.
All right, traffic is a hot mess. A couple of things that we need to do about it. Number one, we got to get development under control, because the more development that you approve that's being built at the same time, the more traffic that we're going to have. Number two, we really are not doing road construction projects in the best manner possible. They're not being well-timed or well-managed. We need to be doing them during off-peak times instead of during our busiest months. We need to ensure that they're well-managed so that you don't have to rip up the roads repeatedly 3 times, causing more traffic, like we've seen on 17th Street outside of City Hall. And rather than look at the city piecemeal, street by street or neighborhood by neighborhood, we really need an updated traffic master plan for our city that takes into consideration mobility throughout the entire community. It's great that we have them for North Beach or Middle Beach or South Beach, but we are one city. And traffic is an issue that is crippling us and one that I will get to work with from day one.
Transportation, traffic is paralyzing in the city at times. What I think in general, what we need to do is build a better communication level between FDOT and city. Right now, it is the Wild West in construction. We have multiple major arteries being blocked at the same time. Example, Collins, West Avenue, and Venetian Causeway were all shut down 2 weeks before Basel. Took me an hour and 20 minutes to get from 9th and Alton to my home in 50th and Alton. That's outrageous and not acceptable. It comes back to common sense. We have a lot of tools at our disposal. We can easily make it better for the residents in general. But what it comes down to is coordinating, improving the way that we do things, and managing everybody so that everybody's accountable, and no one at the end of the day is doing 9 projects in the same company. It should be divided. We work with different companies, incentives for each company that hits the timeline.
One minute to talk about traffic is fascinating, but I'm not going to rattle off all of the things, including the trolleys and about 30 other things that we worked on to actually make it better, but we're almost swimming upstream. Does anybody here think they know what the #1 new contributor to traffic is? If you don't know, I'm going to tell you. It's Uber and Lyft. We have to deal with new technologies and new challenges every day. And whether it be Uber, Lyft, the way we've changed, the way we handle commercial loading to get these trucks off the road, the addition of the road rangers, all of those things are great, but it doesn't help the fact that almost every major artery in this city is either controlled by the county or controlled by the state. I feel like I'm losing volume as we go. We're running out of microphones here, it's not my fault. Trying to keep it a little light. But traffic will always be an issue. There will never be no traffic. It's about mitigating and managing best you can. And a lot of it has to do with communication. A lot of it has to do with the traffic alerts that we set up. We have been adding on a monthly and annual basis to improve things, and we continue to do it.
First thing we need to do is stop making the problem worse with overdevelopment. I can't understand why we've allowed excess development to run rampant. The best example I have where I had a real impact was at Watson Island in preventing what would have been a disastrous development on the Watson Island from the MacArthur Causeway. Second, we need to do a much better job managing our construction projects. Doing off hours, seasons when there are less folks here. Right now, the way they're managed leaves a lot to be desired. We can absolutely do a better job. And third, I'm a big fan of the trolley. I was instrumental with the trolley on Alton Road when it first got going. I think it's a wonderful solution. Free is good. I'd love to see us expand the trolley, make it a real good form of transportation on the beach, and finally making sure it's accessible to everyone. When I spend time with seniors, they love to use it, but they can't get on the darn thing. We need to fix that.
Okay. I believe that when developers submit, you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I believe that when developers submit their plans for new developments, they should be required to provide what we call an independent traffic impact study. At this point, they provide their own traffic impact study, and surprise, surprise, the traffic is never impacted according to the developer. Once they leave and it's congested, they wash their hands and say, well, we had our impact study. So this is one of the things that we need to change, and then we need to change, and stand against all this backdoor politicking, all this special interest representation, all these cliques that we have in government that make these things possible. Aside from that, and the overdevelopment and all this cronyism that's going on, what we need to do is we need to be open to alternative solutions. I'm a supporter of expanding the Metro Mover. Expanding the Metro Mover to decongest our causeway, from downtown to Miami Beach. However, it should stop right on 5th Street in Alton, and people from there can use our services. I oppose any tracks on South Beach.
Fine. How's the sound back there, guys? Is everybody okay? Yeah. Needs to be up a little bit higher? Yes. Yes, okay, so Allison, it got turned down too much, so turn it back up, we'd appreciate it. So, okay, this is a second transportation question and a follow-up. It relates to the pedestrian character of Miami Beach. And a lot of us believe that the pedestrian character has been diminished significantly over the last several years. The Miami Beach Master Transportation Plan prioritizes pedestrians first. Do you agree that it's a problem? That this is a problem or an issue in the city, and what do you propose to do about it? And this will be reverse alphabetical order, right? So Raphael, you're up first.
Can you repeat the question again, please?
I think it got turned back up. Better back there?
Okay, so can you say the question again, please?
Repeat the question? Okay, so the city's transportation master plan prioritizes pedestrians first. Many of us don't see that, and we try to walk around and cross the street. Do you agree that the pedestrian character, or that Miami Beach needs help with regard to pedestrians, and what would you do about it?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been walking all neighborhoods, and I've been receiving complaints from our residents about cars speeding by, traffic lights needed to slow down the traffic. Fatal accidents happening because cars are speeding at late times at night. So I believe that we need to maintain and protect the character by regulating traffic and enforcing our traffic laws. I mean, we are, as I mentioned, a tourist capital, a tourist city specifically, that should be very friendly to pedestrian, traffic, and so therefore we need to be very on top of that issue and enforce our laws accordingly. Thank you.
Yeah, I strongly agree. We need to do a much better job for pedestrians. Before coming to Miami Beach, I lived in New York City. When I came here, it was for the walkability of this lovely tropical paradise we live in. So what do we do about it? The first is we need to improve our street design and make sure the streets just aren't for cars, but they're for bicyclists and pedestrians. An important part of that is making sure we have sufficient tree coverage so that you can actually walk on them in the heat. Number three, I agree with my opponent who mentioned enforcement. We need to enforce our laws and rules. And finally, real simple, listen to our residents. Spend time in our neighborhood associations. They'll tell us what we need to do. We'll get it done.
Can you guys hear me okay? Are we good? We're having difficulties back here. So walkability. So about an hour ago, we just left the budget where I voted on funding almost $400,000 to do what I committed to do a year ago. I'm dying again. To do what I'm doing a year ago, which is to complete the West Avenue Baywalk. My commitment, if re-elected, is not only to complete the Baywalk, but to have a continuous Baywalk to Beach Walk going completely around the city all the way to Surfside. It's something that's been talked about for years. It's never been properly funded. It has never been properly put in place. I commit to doing it. I also, since I've been in office, I started a pilot program which allows for those illuminated crosswalks that you've seen in some places throughout the city. That was a pilot program. It was successful. We have now funded it to expand it further. Lastly, I want to take every piece of this city and turn it into what they call a pedestrian priority zone. I encourage you to Google that, and I want to implement that as well as soon as I'm re-elected.
I absolutely believe in prioritizing, as microphones are tricky, pedestrians on the road, for sure. I mean, just to give an example, my business 9th and Alton Road, it's a real-life game of Frogger. I've been asking for a crosswalk there, and FDOT decided it was a necessity. But what they came up with made no sense. So I get to watch little old ladies, moms pushing their newborn child, bicyclists, you name it, try to take their risk to make it across the road. It makes no sense. How much does it actually take to put in a crosswalk for the pedestrians? It's priority, safety. They are the ones, you are the ones that make the city tick. Without you guys, there is no city. So we do got to prioritize our residents and, more importantly, our pedestrians in every shape, form of the word. It's our obligation as commissioners to find the best way to protect our pedestrians in the city.
Crosswalks are important, but Miami Beach isn't getting any larger, and we're having a challenge to put all of the things that we want within our limited city streets. People want bike paths, people want pedestrian walkways. When I was on the commission, we worked very hard. We started the beach walk and the bay walk, and I'm glad to hear that different pieces of it are being funded now, but these projects came up back in the day through various commissions that worked on these projects to make sure that we added another area of mobility through our city. But importantly, the culture of Miami Beach is not always the best between drivers and pedestrians, and we don't always have the best enforcement of the laws that are on the books. So we need to have better enforcement so that people will understand that pedestrians should have the right of way.
All right, for our next question, I'd actually like to introduce the chair of the City of Miami Beach's Homeless Committee, and she will be asking a question.
What are the 3 measures or ideas that you will implement to reduce the burden of the homelessness in our city while maintaining the dignity of those we seek to aid?
And I did forget to introduce, this is Valerie Navarrete, okay? And I'm going to repeat the question, which is, what are the 3 measures or ideas that you will implement to reduce the burden of homelessness in our city while maintaining the dignity of those we seek to aid?
We're up there.
Back to me? Okay. Homelessness is a difficult issue, and I really appreciate the work Valerie does because so many homeless people have substance abuse issues and mental health issues. So number one, I would like to make sure that the committee work and the ideas that you're bringing to the commission actually have a voice and a discussion at the commission. So I would serve as the liaison in the pipeline to take the hard work of this committee and discuss it on a broader level. Number two, we need to make sure that there's adequate funding in place and resources to make sure that these people that are rehabilitatable are rehabilitated, as I know many that you work with are, or if they're not rehabilitatable, like some of them are just hard criminals that we know about that are repeat offenders, then we need to get these criminals off the streets and prosecuted. So third, I would also work with our police department and our state attorney's office to make sure the ones that are not, the bad apples, are prosecuted and don't continue to bring down the good ones in our city.
Thank you, Valerie, for all the work you do, and thank you for the tour you took me on. Understanding homeless, it's a very amazing thing because at the end of the day, they're just normal people that may have had a bad turn in life. I believe that there's a major disconnect between city and police in taking care of the homeless. I also know that there is a separation between the ones that have mental disabilities, between the ones that are possibly veterans that are on the street, and also the ones that are just bad eggs. All they want to do is cause problems and be problems. When we were on 11th and Collins, we had a boatload of homeless, and some were great and some were bad, as everything. I think we need to put more boots on the ground. We need to really get involved with the homeless, take the time. And here's the thing, it's not about the city government taking care of it. I think it belongs to the community. We all need to get involved. My father believed in giving food to the homeless and taking the time to talk to them, which is what we need, because you'll be fascinated how easy it is to solve a problem.
First and foremost, we need to make sure that we maintain control of the funding and how the funding is spent. That's number one. Number two, and we just voted on this, again, about a couple hours ago, myself and my buddy John were the ones that proposed the idea of having a city prosecutor. Because one of the issues that we have amongst the homeless is we have our homeless residents, We hear everybody using the term the homeless. But these are our homeless residents. The ones that are not committing crimes need help. But the ones who are committing crimes, not only do they need to be taken off the street, but they need to be kept off the street because it's turning into a revolving door. By the time they're processed, they're already back. And that's the problem. So there's no stick when there's punishment when people are arrested. And third, as it applies to our non-criminal homeless residents, there needs to be a level of humanity. It's something that Valerie and I talk about. How the city actually treats our homeless residents is very important. These folks are humans. These folks need help. And if they're willing to accept the help, we need to be able to give it to them.
We're going to differentiate between people who are truly homeless and people who are vagrants that are taking advantage of the system. Those two groups need to be treated fundamentally different. The folks who are vagrants, I think we need to toughen up. The folks who are truly homeless, we have to show compassion. For those people who are in that circumstance, I truly believe we need to make sure everyone who wants a bed can get a bed, that we are listening not only to our homeless committee, but learning from other cities. One of the best things about city government, there's hundreds of municipalities around the country to learn. It's not just a Miami Beach problem, it's in Santa Monica, it's in San Francisco. We have to learn what other cities are doing and then deploy the resources to make sure that we can address it. While we're doing this in a compassionate way, we also have to make sure that we understand the impact that some of the homeless may have on the quality of life. So for example, sometimes we have homeless who are in public sidewalks or in public buildings. I think we need to be very sensitive to that and handle that in the appropriate way as well.
Has to do a lot with empathy. Can you imagine how it is to live as a homeless person every day? Can you imagine how it is to walk around being hungry, not knowing where you're going to get the next food from? Can you imagine what it means that you feel as a failure hanging out on a bench and people look at you and look at you down? Can you feel that? Well, I try to feel that. And let me tell you something. I know that there are many people out there that say, hey, let's criminalize homelessness. Let's just put them all to jail and that's the end of the problem. Let's just clean them out. Right? But let me tell you, that's not the solution to the problem because these are people too. People like you and me. So we need to work together to help the people that need help and prosecute the ones that are breaking the laws. But always equitable and with respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. Okay, so the next question is about, we're going to go in reverse alphabetical order. The next question is about North Beach. What is your vision for North Beach? How does your vision for North Beach integrate with the North Beach Master Plan? What ideas do you have that might invigorate North Beach without damaging residents' quality of life? Starting with Raphael.
Well, North Beach is not selling out. And if I'm commissioner, I'm going to make sure that this will never happen. I will stand up for the residents, I will protect the character of the neighborhood, and I will make sure that North Beach is a laid-back place that you go, and where you have that neighborhood feeling when you walk around, where you can go and enjoy culture, you can go and enjoy music. These are things that we want in North Beach. It's not South Beach. We don't want to duplicate South Beach. We don't want to duplicate Mid Beach. North Beach is North Beach, and we need to respect that. That's what I stand for. And I believe that the plan, the master plan, is great.
My vision for North Beach is completely aligned with the master plan. I spent a fair amount of time in those meetings. I thought it was a wonderful community process. I fully support it. So that master plan had two basic concepts. Let's protect and preserve the integrity and character of our neighborhoods. We need to get that right. But at the same time, we need to revitalize core parts of North Beach. So I support smart development. For example, on Ocean Terrace, done properly with community development, I think we could use appropriate development to reinvigorate town center. I think we should invest in the street design on 71st Street. I'd like to make that a pedestrian-friendly, wonderful main street to visit. I think we have a ways to go. We've We've got to make sure it's safe. We've got to make sure that the police are there and code providing enforcement. And finally, we need commissioners who will be out there, spend time and make North Beach a priority, and I promise you I will do so.
Speaking of commissioners who spent a lot of time out on the street in North Beach, there's a lot of people who live in North Beach who are not represented in this room today. A lot of them live across the street from Kirk. A lot of them live in different areas where they needed a lot of help over the last week. So before we talk about development and all of these other things in North Beach, and I think the North Beach Master Plan is great, I voted for it. I hope that it reinvigorates little areas, but at the same time, there are a lot of folks up there that need help. And before we start doing anything else, we need to make sure that the folks in certain areas get the help that they need before they get displaced. There's people who have been living there for years, and there are some folks who are living up there in squalor, and they need help. Their landlords aren't helping them, the city's not helping them, and then on top of that, just completely unrelated, you have so many failing intersections in North Beach. Before you start talking about development, we need to get the intersections working with FDOT and with the county.
North Beach. It's a lot of history, because when it comes down to it needs to be preserved. In 1974, my father opened up Three Boys Luncheonette, which is now Chase Bank, which many people don't know about. In North Shore Park was where I had a head-on collision with a baseball at the ripe age of 14, and now there's another Adrian Gonzalez with a professional career. I believe that at the end of the day, North Beach needs to be preserved. At the same time, it feels like it's in a timestamp. It hasn't moved. We have to progress. We have to do new things. I think what Commissioner Ariola just did with the North Beach Yard is a wonderful idea to infuse new life into Miami Beach, or more importantly, North Beach. One thing you have to remember, and I'm knocking on a lot of doors, I hear North Beach, South Beach, Mid Beach. Here's a secret. We're Miami Beach, and we have to do the best for the whole city.
We spent a lot of time on the North Beach Master Plan back when I was there, and this commission has spent an enormous amount of time with community involvement, and I think for the most part they've gotten it right. So I would like to start implementing a lot of the ideas. My vision of North Beach would be really to come out with the proper zoning from day one to avoid your first question, where commercial interests are infiltrating residential neighborhoods. There's an opportunity along Ocean Terrace and Collins Avenue to rehabilitate that neighborhood and turn it into something very interesting. There's opportunities to continue to brand North Beach and give it its own unique flavor. When I was on the commission, I introduced the food trucks, which are still done on a monthly basis. Commissioner Ariola is now doing the North Beach Yard, modeled on the Wynwood Yard. So there's lots of opportunities for us to create something that gives North Beach its own identity and preserves that uniqueness while not infiltrating our residential neighborhoods.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to the subject of affordable housing, and this is an interesting one. Miami Beach United did in fact have an entire forum on the concept of affordable housing, and yet I think that we as a community still have more work to do with each other, educating each other about what we want and what we have and what we're going to do. So can you describe what affordable housing means to you and what it means to the city? Because I think clearly there are two different things. What specific changes you will make to influence or create rental or ownership opportunities for all income levels to have a diverse community, if this is possible. And we're going to have a follow-up on this.
I'm sorry, Stacey, because I missed it. What is the specific question?
What does affordable housing mean to you? And what does it mean to the city? If you can compare and contrast.
Yes, affordable housing for me, like my friends that are sitting in the fourth row, many of them live in affordable housing that we created in the city of Miami Beach. It has to do with what you define affordable housing to be. When I was on the commission, affordable housing for us mostly meant lower income senior housing. There's less housing on the market now, and the definitions have been morphed and changed. Now the commission is talking about more workforce housing, which would allow people with incomes up to $70,000 to be able to live in public housing. So what it means to me is getting the definition right, making sure that we have the funding for what I consider to be affordable housing for the people that need it the most, which are our low-income seniors. So I would focus my attention on that community. That's what it means to me.
1 minute follow-up on this one. Michael, would you consider other ideas for the London House than what is proposed right now for the city? Are you familiar with the London House project?
Yes. Some of the ideas that I've looked at previously is Miami Beach has always built either affordable or workforce housing or not. You acquire a building and it is what it is. But there's lots of cities that we can look to as models that do many different things. In New York City, a lot of times they require developers of certain buildings to keep the less attractive units on the lower floors with the worst views, the harder units to sell, and make those into affordable or workforce housing so there's more of a mixed program rather than just spreading different buildings out in different areas.
So what does affordable housing mean to you in contrast to what it means to the city?
Affordable housing means to me, which is the history which serves it to repeat itself. Unfortunately, every area as its city, as it grows, it pushes the people that are the working force, the people that are the residents, that are the starters, the pioneers that got here, slowly are priced out of their own homes. They're slowly pushed into Mid-Beach, and they're slowly pushed to North Beach. Now guess what? They're northwest and north, moving around. To me, it's a very important thing to preserve it. I think, unfortunately, it's come to a point that reality is that properties have gotten through the sky roof, and we also don't want people to lose money in their investment. There has to be a city intervening with helping, whether it's first-time buyers or first-time renters or all that which fall under that category, to be able to preserve their lifestyle and stay here in Miami Beach and not have to commute off the beach, because that is very important in the fiber pool we are.
When I moved to Miami Beach, I actually lived in affordable housing. I had a $300 a month apartment down in Flamingo Park. So I know the neighborhoods, and I know that neighborhood in particular where I was living. But talking about affordable housing and talking about workforce housing, it sounds great. Two things. One, I'm a free market guy. I always have been. I believe that local government has kind of gotten out of its lane and trying to control the market too much. I'm not that guy. Second piece of it, when we start talking about meaningful workforce housing inventory, you cannot create it without going vertical. And there's not very many people in here that want to start building high-rises all over the city, because in order to create the hundreds, if not thousands of units that you would need to create meaningful workforce housing that will change traffic patterns and change people working within the city, you need to have a realistic conversation about it.
Affordable housing is indeed a real challenge for not only Miami Beach, but all of Dade County. For me, there's two big components. First is folks in the sort of lower income housing, often are some of our senior centers, and then more traditional, the term workforce housing. I would say three priorities. The first is we need to be treating the people who are in existing housing with tremendous compassion. People got there, we need to make sure we take care of folks in the right way. The second thing is, in that realistic conversation that I think we should have, we're going to have to decide what incentives we can give that would encourage this type of affordable housing, whether it is increases in capacity, whether it is zoning or tax incentives. And finally, there's one special group I think warrants attention. We have approximately 2,300 city employees, 90% don't live on the beach. I would love to find a way to bring more city employees to live in Miami Beach, experience Miami Beach, and be close to our neighborhoods. That's a group that I'd especially love to work to bring back to the beach.
So when I walk the neighborhoods, people tell me, you know, Rafa, rent is too high. It's just simply too high. And those seniors for whom the rent is rising every day, they start living together like college roommates to be able to stay here in Miami Beach. For those people people that work here, that work in your restaurants, those people that, clean your houses, those people that work in the restaurants, that drive the cabs, these are people that they share their places. And there is a phenomenon that is called gentrification. And that's going to happen no matter what. However, we as a city, we have at our disposal cooperation with many properties around the city. And we worked together in the past with the Miami Beach Community Development Organization, where we were able to provide low-income housing, where people pay 30% of their income. And that's what we need to do. We need to help the people that already live on the beach be able to stay on the beach. Because our Miami Beach residents come first, we need to take care of them.
All right. Okay, reverse order on this one? Did I get it right? Okay, so questions about Ocean Drive. What do we do about Ocean Drive? What's working? What's working on Ocean Drive? What's not working, and what are your best 3 ideas about what to do about Ocean Drive?
Okay, so when we talk about Ocean Drive, we don't want to oversimplify the issue. Crime is not just a problem on Ocean Drive. I think a few days ago somebody was shot, there was a shooting on Meekin Road. So shootings all over the city. I don't know what the solution should be. Should we just ban the bearing of arms in Miami Beach? We cannot exclude people from Miami Beach. We are tourist guys. Or you want to shut down the city at 2 in the morning? I mean, people are not going to tell you straight up what they think, but I'm telling you that shutting the city down at 2 a.m. is a horrible mistake to do. Shutting down Ocean Drive is the beginning of the end of Miami Beach.
Rafael, your best 3 ideas. What to do about it?
Okay, so what we do is, first of all, we maintain the character of Miami Beach, and we work in close cooperation with the police to provide public safety. Public safety is the main priority, and here we have community policing in it. It's really missing. Police officers patrolling, speaking to small business owners, knowing their neighborhoods, and that's the beginning of a solution, that we have the police actually being known in their neighborhoods and businesses.
Ocean Drive is the heart of Miami Beach. It's why people come to Miami and Miami Beach. We absolutely have to get it right. 3 specifics. First, I think as a community, we need to do a better job at attracting tourists that will respect the beach.
Folks are saying they can't hear.
Okay, let's see that. Better back there, Wanda?
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
yeah, I think you're gonna, that microphone, I think we have to speak a little louder.
Can do. So 3 specific thoughts. First, I think we need to do a better job at attracting new tourists to Miami Beach and Ocean Drive, including families. Everyone's welcome in Miami Beach as long as they will respect the beach. We have wonderful cultural institutions. We have wonderful offerings of restaurants. I think we should more proactively be bringing people to the beach. I don't think we told that story. I would like to see us do so. Second, in the here and now, we need to work on enforcement. I would like to see the use of technology, cameras, license plate readers, I think they're critical. I would like to make sure that we have the proper resources deployed. And finally, on Ocean Drive specifically, I do think we need to look at the traffic patterns and parking. The way that street is designed, I think we need to make sure that the police have proper visibility and we can explore some alternatives there.
All right, this isn't fair because Mitch is right in front. So I'm going to try to do this. So this is the first time that I'm telling anybody about this, but my first proposal is that we start an assistant manager position who only works at night. Somebody who works full-time at night, who can be boots on the ground, eyes around the city, not just for Ocean Drive, but for the city in general, so there is a boss. Diners have a 24-hour diner has a manager on duty at all times. For some reason, we don't. That's item number 1. Item number 2 is to go back to the bicycle squads. We already went back to creating a separate captain area for the entertainment district. We need to go back to the bicycle squads. We need to get the cops out of their cars, getting them rolling them, with their windows up, the whole deal. They need to be smelling, hearing, and seeing what's going on firsthand. And it worked when we did bicycles. And lastly, I want to deputize myself, Jeff Feldman, and Michael DiFilippi, and we'll go out and we'll deal with this in about a week.
Ocean Drive is a major vital component of Miami Beach. It has history, it has so much preservation that we have to preserve. We also have to protect it. My opinion on Ocean Drive is we need to have more police boots on the ground, more involvement down to the back of the days that even bringing back the horses and the police mounted horses. They are vital to getting things. At the end of the day, the element that comes into Miami Beach isn't buying a $20 drink. They are having flask in their pocket, they are partying in the room, getting drunk on their party, and so forth. And most importantly, we need to focus on where Ocean Drive is heading. The Betsy right now is the golden standard. They are taking it to another level. God willingly, that's the direction all of Ocean Drive should head, because it raises the bar and it makes it more of a place that we want to bring our families and we want to spend time on a regular basis.
I don't think it's a problem. The people that are coming, that are buying hotel rooms, that are buying the expensive big drinks that we see when we're walking down, that are causing the problems, because those drinks are very expensive. I think what's happening is we're seeing a lot of people coming over from the other side of the causeway, cruising around, and there's a sense of lawlessness. I think locals have stopped wanting to go to Ocean Drive because of that feeling of lawlessness. Open drug sales going on as you walk on the street. People grabbing you to come sit down in a restaurant and buy some special for an unknown price in certain places. So, number one, yes, we need more policing, community policing out there on the street. There's no reason why people should feel that it is okay to do that on Ocean Drive. Number two, we need to give them the city tools and resources they need. Yes, we need to implement video cameras. Yes, we need better lighting. And yes, we need to have people feel safe. And third, yes, we need to have better programming of events that are going to bring locals back to Ocean Drive, so it's more of a mixed-use block.
And on the idea of bringing people back and revitalizing the image of the city, I think we all want to have the image of the city always enhanced, and to bring back maybe that idea of the Riviera of the USA, which is the historic image that Miami Beach had. Part of that might be to also enhance our local cultural arts organizations. And so this question is coming from Florencia Jimenez Marcos, who could not be with us today. She is the executive director of the Colony Theater right now, and in her past life had been working with the Friends of North Beach and with the New World Symphony as well. And so she poses the question to you: how can you revitalize Miami Beach's arts image to both diversify the city's attractiveness as a tourist destination while also adding to the residential quality of life? And I know Florencia, so I know she's looking for actual specific answer how you're going to do this. We're going to go in.
Is this back for me?
Yes, back to you.
How do we revitalize the arts? Okay. Well, number one, we have lots of opportunities. We have an amazing city that we all love to live in. People want to be here. So we can do events that people will be attracted to. We can do things such as in the 90s, when many of us were here, back when Pavarotti was out on the beach, and that was such an exciting moment in our time. We used to do outdoor movies on the beach. We had nice events that the locals wanted to go to. So I think that the city can work with private industry, and I think private industry would like to see those type of events coming back to our city that we can enjoy. The city funds lots of art projects, arts in public places, cultural arts councils. The VCA gives away money to tons of special events to bring them into our town. So we need to focus on bringing in art events that people will want to attend in our city and bring it back.
We live in a world-class city that stands second to pretty much nowhere, as far as I'm concerned. The arts world is a vital part of the city. When it comes down to interaction, as we saw the South Florida Arts Center disappear from Lincoln Road, little things like that is the fiber of this community. We need to reach out, we need to set up more programs, and whether it's going to the local schools and interacting with the kids and starting programs that are, again, developing young artists from dance, developing young artists from paintings and so forth. Programming like that is where you go to the grassroots, you build them young, and you keep it in the community. This city has so much area that we can do programs like this. But but we are so not using up the area that we have. At the end of the day, we have all the resources locally. We have unbelievable schools here that we can implement all these kids to do art programs that will bring international people from all around the world, exchange programs from all around the world. That's what I think we need to do.
I think a lot of it is we just need to keep doing what we're doing. You know, Florencia's team, who's taken over at the Colony, they've done an amazing job of revitalizing the programming specifically in that facility. And I've had the opportunity, as a commissioner and friend of the arts, to present and to work with them on making sure that they curate the Colony properly. I was over at the New World Center the other night and seeing the hundreds, if not over 1,000 people that were out there enjoying what we do on the wall gas. I've been a huge supporter of the Bass, and the city's been partnering with both the Bass and the Miami City Ballet. In fact, we added something in the budget just for the Miami City Ballet this year, as we've done in the past as well. So a lot of it is making sure that we find the right partnerships. Sometimes there's been some failures, but in perpetuity, we just got a commitment, another 10 years from Art Basel. You know, this is what we need to be doing. We have become a worldwide destination when it comes to the arts, and we just need to continue to perpetuate what we've already been doing and just make sure we partner with the right people.
We have, as I said before, wonderful cultural institutions to work with. We have the Art Basel, we have the Arts Center, which is so close to us. So I think step one is we want to really brand Miami Beach as a cultural destination. We should work very closely with the GMCBD and make that part of their priorities. I do agree special events have an important role. I think we should have more special events. People come for food and wine. They should also come and experience, cultural weekends here in Miami Beach. I think always we need to listen to our experts from the VCA and the Arts Council, and the bottom line always comes down to resources. I will commit that we will make the resources available to make this happen, because I think if we make this happen right, we're going to address some of the issues where we talk about public safety and Ocean Drive and others.
Culture and arts, that's what makes this city really an exceptional city. We have the Fillmore, we have the Miami City Ballet. These are institutions that are part of Miami Beach and that need to be exemplary of what Miami Beach should stand for. I don't know about you, but I believe that the Art Basel week is probably the best week we have the whole year. I mean, I don't know much about art, but during that week I feel like an expert. I go around and I do opinions about arts and everything, and I look very sophisticated when I look at those paintings. I mean, I don't know about you, but that's how I feel. And so in that matter, and in the same regard, I'm fully dedicated to that. I believe that diversifies and increasing commercialization of Miami Beach, and that's what will make our city, the greatest part of South Florida.
Thank you. All right, so guys, we got 2 more questions and then closing statements. We're going to try to finish up by 9 o'clock. That's kind of what we originally said, 2 hours. So
We can stay longer.
I think probably not. But we'd also like to ask, just as to be good neighbors with the Miami Beach Women's Club. As you get up, please pick up flyers, pick up papers, pick up everything, and take it to the back when you leave. And we appreciate it if you would do that. So, what's our order? Reverse? Reverse? Oh, we'll get reverse. Resiliency. What are the most pressing, immediate resiliency issues facing the city of Miami Beach? And what will you do specifically to help us prepare for a sustainable future?
Well, first of all, I believe in climate change. And I don't think it's a hoax. I think climate change is real. And we need to work together as one community to combat it. Whether it's with solar energy, whether it's combating the sea level rise. I believe that our current administration has done a good job at doing something. They tried, they tried to raise the streets, they tried to pump things. And I think there are some positive results, but I think there are also some negative results. And so I believe that we need to take a step back and evaluate what we have done so far in this regard, combating, climate change and sea level rise. So I believe that it is important that we continue in the right path. I believe that raising the streets is a good idea. However, we need to consider also the impact on the property owners. We want them to be able to get flood insurance. We don't want them to be shoveling out the water of their own property. So we need to stand with them in everything we do. Thanks.
I also believe that sea level rise flooding is a critical issue. It really threatens the heart of Miami Beach. I commend the administration for recognizing the problem, taking some steps forward. Having said that, as an engineer, I really believe I can contribute to this conversation. We have a critical issue as it relates to the pace that this program continues and the idea of raising streets. For me, we need to slow down. We need to listen to our residents who are experts in their neighbors. We need to make sure that the residents are ready to proceed at the same time as the city proceeds. The city gets too far out in front, we're going to have a big problem. And finally, while I respect the work that has been done by the administration and its current team, I strongly believe we need to hear from some new independent experts to validate the path forward. One of the most critical issues we're dealing with, I know I can help.
So I'm not an engineer, but I will tell you is that pumping the brakes, Mother Nature's not pumping the brakes. And paralysis by analysis is not the answer. What the city is doing is working. We have slowed our long-term calendar as to how the projects are going to get done, but I will tell you that it's working. You've seen it over the last few weeks. You're going to see it over the next few weeks. We're going to break some eggs when we're making this omelet, but doing nothing will not keep us insurable. And insurance is the boring thing that nobody wants to talk about, and the underwriting of that insurance. One thing that we can take a look at is what we do with the water. Do we want to have a hybrid system where we're actually pumping it below the boulder line? Do we want to have a system where instead of having these ugly generators, when you see these permanent generators, they're about the size of an 18-wheeler truck that everybody's been talking about, instead of having generators, maybe we engineer natural gas lines that can power backup power. Something to think about moving forward.
Resiliency on the beach. Bottom line is, Mother Nature is at our door, and we have to be on top of our game. Our beaches are receding, the flood water is rising, water is coming from the ground up when it comes down to it. We're putting band-aids on bigger problems. Our city is staying ahead, pushing forward, but certain things, to me, still need to happen. When it comes down to pumps that have no power, we can't test them whether they work or not. Makes no sense. We live in a city that has so much sun, and I just don't understand why every building in Miami Beach does not have solar panels powering these things. Tesla came out with new technology. They make tiles now that look like Spanish-style tiles, and they can power, imagine what they can power in our city. My wife's family from England has solar panels on her house, and she gets them for free from their electric company, and the reserves goes back into their pocket. Explain that one to me. England, South Florida, explain that one to me.
I can tell you the reason why we don't have solar panels and solar energy, because FPL has blocked us at the state level with expensive lobbyists and funding state legislators' campaigns. I can tell you one of the votes I'm proud that I did not vote in favor of when I was a commissioner, because I did not think we were getting what we should. I still don't think we got what we should. You want a resilient city? We need them to bury the power lines under the ground. And we need to make sure that we are sending our lobbyists to Tallahassee to push for that. Yes, when it comes to flooding, I chair the Sustainability Committee. We originally started putting the pumps in. Mayor Levine and this commission have moved full steam ahead with the pumps. I'm concerned with the plan now to raise city streets. I think it might be too much too soon. I'm concerned about the amount of water that we're pumping out and if it's really dirty water, if it's damaging the quality of the water and closing of our beaches. So I would like to take a pause and make sure I understand this, but yes, I am an environmentalist and I want to make sure that we keep our city dry.
Now, we're going to get to one of will be, I guess, our final question tonight. And it's interesting because this question has sort of been weaving its way around a lot of what we've been listening to tonight. And it's been, I think it's been on my mind and it's been on a lot of your minds, and it has to do with character and integrity. And character and integrity can be something that we think of when we think of our elected officials and our community members like each other, but it also can be something we think about when we talk about our city. And so this question is actually, what is our city's character, and what are the steps you will take to improve our image and enhance the existing character?
I think that the city has done some really good things over the past couple of years with regard to communicating with our residents and PR to improve our image. I will say that I think the communication that we had during Hurricane Irma, both before, during, and after, was very good. I think we need to be careful when we speak to the press about the problems that we face in the city. Sometimes there's grandstanding, whether it's for political motivations or what have you, and people take the sound bites of political people and they get carried around the world. I've seen it with special events, I've seen it with Zika, I've seen it happening numerous times. So I would like to make sure that our communication as a city and our image as it's branded as a city is coming through a more centralized, a more mature, and a more intelligent way to ensure that we stay the important city that we are and ensure that visitors want to continue to come here and enjoy what our city has to offer.
Before you go any further, I think it's important that this city understands the importance of city, residents, and businesses. There is a disconnect, and we all need to get on the same page because we all want the same goal when it comes down to it. We live in an amazing city, and we need to preserve it when it comes down to it. There are many, many things out there that we can do, and to me, at the end of the day, getting the message out, making sure that we're on the same page. You know, the city with this current hurricane message out there, they did a good job. They got the word out. But at the end of the time, there was a lot of residents that weren't sure what was going on, other than the complete extreme. We need to be all on the same page. We all need to communicate better. And that goes from disaster time to your regular day shift in the office in Miami Beach.
All right, so I'm not going to talk about the hurricane. What I'm going to talk about, it was mentioned by my opponent to the left here, was something called the GMCVB. Does anybody know what the GMCVB is? 3 people. All right, so the GMCVB is the Greater Miami Visitors and Convention Bureau. That is a company that we give millions and millions of dollars to market us. And they are doing a very bad job. And I've been very disappointed in the job they've been doing over the last few years. They're in charge of not only booking the convention center, but they take our millions of dollars and they take all of our Ocean Drive pictures and all of the beautiful pictures of the beach, and they're marketing all of Dade County. One of the things that I would like to do is to revisit who is marketing our city. We need to have the voice like they're talking about. We need to make sure it's a voice for Miami Beach, not Miami-Dade, not City of Miami, not some hot dog cart in the design district, but for us. Something I've committed to before and something I will continue to commit to.
We live in a wonderful tropical paradise, welcoming to people from all over the world, people that live here and visit, and tolerant, diverse people and neighborhoods. We also have tremendous cultural assets, architecture to build on. We start from a wonderful place. We also have a complex situation with businesses, development, and residents, and we need to make that marriage work. So as I mentioned earlier, and I'm glad my opponent picked up on it, the GMCVB and making sure that marketing is done properly is absolutely critical, because character is not stagnant. And I think we can evolve our character, and I would like to take that character to some extent to tell that story of our cultural institutions. And finally, in terms of character of the city, it's about one Miami Beach. It's about coming together. We need people that know how to listen. We need people who can build consensus. That's what I do, and I look forward to doing it.
Character of Miami Beach. I am Miami Beach. Miami Beach is an inclusive, diverse city where we stand up against hate, we stand up against fear, where we stand up against xenophobia, where we stand up against anti-Semitism, where we stand up against racism, where we speak probably Spanish, German, Italian, whatever language you come from. That's a city where we are tourist capital, and I believe that we live in times that we have never lived before, that we need to stand together and stand up to those people that hate. Every day they come out and they hate. And we need to show them that we, as a character of the city, we will not tolerate that among us, that we will stand together and fight for what's right. That's Miami Beach, that's who I am, and I tell you, through good and bad times, no matter what, I will fight for you. Thank you.
And now we're going to move on to the closing statement section. Michael's going to introduce that, but I do want to give one more plug for membership in Miami Beach United. October 23rd, we're going to be having a membership soiree at Freehand, Miami. And on October 2nd, we're going to be having a forum on Ocean Drive in the Mixed Use Entertainment District with experts to be determined. So we would like you to join us. You can find us online, MiamiBeachUnited.org. You can also find us on Facebook. You can find me, Stacey Kilroy, on Facebook, Michael Barano on Facebook, Tanya Bott on Facebook as well. Please send us a friend request. We'd like you to join our circle and become part of the character that we want to create in Miami Beach as well.
Thank you, Stacey. Thanks, everyone. We're going to start in reverse order, 3 minutes. Join us on October 2nd. Watch email, watch Facebook for notices. And many thanks to the candidates for the hard work and hanging in there. Yeah.
Okay, everybody. So remember that thing that I talked to you about, that I asked you for? Look at the values of your candidate. The first thing that I want you to look at is how does a candidate run his or her campaign? How does a character, how is that the campaign is a direct reflection of the character of that candidate? Does a character focus on his own campaign and what he's going to give to you, to the community? Or does a candidate rather focus on disparaging other candidates? These are things that I want you to go out here and ask yourself. This is a character. The other thing that I want you to know is a lady said to me, you know, Rafa, I love you, but you don't have any money. You don't really have a shot of winning. But that's okay, because next time you win, let me tell you something. You remember what we call the fierce urgency of now? You remember that? Well, I'm standing here because this is a comeback. This is a comeback like you have never seen for the city of Miami Beach. And you don't know about it, then go on my website and read it, because I don't have the time to tell you my life story. That I drove taxi in the city for 3.5 years, 6-7 days a week, from 7 at night until 7 in the morning, being an attorney. And the story that's behind it. I want you to know that. This is the time, because it's a fierce urgency of now. It's a window in time, the opportunity that we have to elect one that will represent us. Because I feel you, I hear you, and I will be there for you. And I don't know if that will happen another time, if I have the energy, if I have the money to maintain my family, to expose myself to scrutiny and to disparagement of other candidates. I don't know. But I know that the time is now, and you have that opportunity in your hands to decide, are you going to give this guy, this activist, this guy that is a taxi driver, this guy that is an immigrant, this guy that is a father that is willing to die for his daughters, for his wife, what are you willing to give this guy an opportunity to stand up for us? Let me tell you one thing. You material things. It's about making a difference in society. It's about making a positive change in the community to make all our lives better. Well, but Rafa hasn't been the president of a non-profit. Rafa has not been on a city committee. Rafa has no experience. But you know something that doesn't matter. And all these endorsements, they all don't matter. All the backroom politics, they all don't matter. You know why? Because the only endorsement that I want is yours. On November 7th, if you want me to stand for you, vote for Rafa. Rafael Velasquez, for competition.
Thank you for coming out tonight. What a wonderful discussion we've all had. It's been a wonderful event. Thank you for MBU. I'm really so proud of this organization and what it's become for residents. My fellow residents, we are in uncharted waters in this upcoming election. And there are just many unanswered questions regarding one of my opponent's actions. There can be no doubt that trust is the fundamental question in this campaign. As an engineer and a business executive, I bring specialized expertise that I know I can help. I've shown myself as someone that will put residents first, ahead of politics, ahead of the special interest. I take my role as a community leader very seriously, and you'll always be proud of my actions and behaviors. With me, you have someone you know you can trust. I first met Dan Gelber when he was teaching Katie Sorensen's, County Commissioner, Katie Sorensen's Good Government course. And I did well in the course, and I was honored to be asked to teach Katie's course. And after that, she said, Mark, I'm going to endorse you. I'm going to back you. We need people like you. And it's not just about trusting me, it's a government you can trust. An independent inspector general is a game changer. It is about this city opening itself up in the most transparent way. It's about commissioners, people like potentially myself, ceding power to oversight. We need it. We need it badly with respect to the PAC. Please keep in mind the 9 endorsements I mentioned. They are important. These are the folks that know the job. They know the men. So if you're convinced that I'm your choice for Group 2, I thank you. And please help me. Tell your friends. Invite us to your neighborhood. Put up a yard sign. Spread the word. And yes, indeed, make sure you vote. If you still have questions, let's talk. And I'm sorry to do this to you, Laura, but I will stay here tonight as late as anyone wants to talk about any issue you've got. So come on, I'm here, and I'd love to continue the discussion. If tonight's not the night, my cell phone, 305-915-4316. I'll just repeat it. Please give me a ring. 305-915-4316, or email or Facebook. I'd love to make sure that every person got their question answered. So thank you again. I sure hope I've earned your trust, and vote Group 2, Mark Samuel.
No disrespect to Mark, I'm just happy I'm not going after Rafa. Rafa, I love you, man. He's my neighbor. I love him. Again, my name is Michael Grieco. I've been your city commissioner for the last 4 years. And the last 6 months have been quite a ride. And I don't have any prepared statements again. I have a notepad with a smiley face on it, that's it. And my family and I have been through a lot over the last 6 months. And a few weeks ago, I was sitting at Starbucks, ironically the Starbucks right under Dan Gelber's office. And I'm sitting there by myself getting work done. And the guy I know comes up to me and he goes, "Is it worth it?" Because the people that know me, the people that really know me, they know how much I care about public service. And they know how much I care about helping people on a grand scale. And it's selfish. It's not a selfless thing for me. It's selfish. I like the way helping people makes me feel. It's selfish. And the question that was asked to me, is it worth it? Is what you have to go through to get elected and stay elected, what you have to family through, what you have to put yourself through, is it worth it? And for the first time in my life, I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know. I didn't think about it. I just said, I don't know, and ended the conversation. It's about 3 weeks ago. And then over the last couple of weeks, and especially over the last week, I know. And yes, it's absolutely worth it. Running around over the last week, and some of the things that myself and my staff and the city have been doing, a lot of which you don't know about. Probably about 95% of it you don't know about. Not everything's about selfies on Facebook and taking credit for things. It's about what you do when nobody's looking. And for those of you that know the kind of work that we've been doing over the last week, making sure people had ice so their insulin could stay cool, going to those neighborhoods that I mentioned earlier in the debate, making sure that people had fruit and cold drinks. Because even though the mayor was talking about the beaches back, there were, I don't know, 15,000 people without power when that was going on. So while the beach was back, for a lot of people the power wasn't. And those were the days that I realized that it is absolutely worth it. I love this job. I love this city. And I spent the last 4 years showing you how much I love it. I'm asking you to re-elect me. My name is Michael Grieco. I'm number 74 on the ballot. Thank you.
First off, I want to thank you all for enduring this long evening, because I know as we're on the hot plate, I know you guys are taking time away from your families to be here and find out what it's all about, who we are all about. I've been asked multiple times, why did I decide to run? What is your drive? What is your decision? Why all of a sudden? The interesting thing, if you do your homework and you look into who my family is, we've done countless things for this city without a scorecard. We don't need certificates. We don't need awards. I don't need name recognition. I don't need pretty much anything other than thank you. I appreciate it occasionally along the way. As a young kid growing up in this city, I've lived in this city all my life. It's a place that has so many magical turns, so many magical memories that I have. It offers just endless possibilities for anybody that can come, including a Cuban immigrant like my father and my mother, to Miami Beach, and they made their mark. They made an impact in this community. Unfortunately, my father passed away a little over a year ago. He was my rock. He was my compass. He was my everything. He's my moral fiber of who I am today. And even though most of my best friends told me, you're out of your mind going into politics, I said, my father would have done it. I am standing here proud today as a son of a Cuban immigrant that got his taste of the American pie, the American dream. He worked hard. He put us all through school, 3 boys, 3 crazy boys. I've embraced this city. I'm all in with this city. I'm raising my 2 boys in this city. I'm second generation business owner in this city, which is my dad's legacy. And I couldn't imagine anywhere else in this world that I'd rather be. But as I said, my moral compass is straight. I'll never deviate. My promise to you is always principle before politics. Everybody tells me that, oh, you're a politician now. Not at all. I'm wearing a Cuban guayabera tonight. I could have worn a suit. I'm not changing for anybody. I am going to embrace everybody. I want to be the candidate, the commissioner, that's going to lead us forward. New breath of fresh air in our city. And I hope I can count on all of you this coming November 7th. Because I will work to death to make you guys happy and proud to say, I live in Miami Beach. Thank you so much. My name is Adrian Gonzalez, Group 3.
Good evening. I'm Michael Gunport, and I'm thrilled to give you your final 3 minutes of the night. Elections are about selections. It's a little bit like choosing somebody who to hire, who to vote for, and there's certain factors that we need to look to. Number one, as the questions showed, education is important. I'm a community association attorney. I'm a self-made shareholder at a big firm here, but I've spent my time giving back to the community, chairing our Land Use and Development Committee, and I have the education to understand where we need to go. Number two, experience. I've been there before as commissioner. Nobody's ever criticized my votes, my track record, or my commitment to the city. And before serving on commission the first time, I served on the Design Review Board, the Zoning Board of Adjustment as a special master, and several other committees because I wanted to get a well-rounded feel for how our city works and how I can best represent you. Number three, I have the commitment. I have never left our city. As I stated, I have won and I have lost elections, but I have never stopped working for the residents of Miami Beach, whether as an activist, a board member, a commissioner, or a quiet citizen. Number four, I have the reliability. Many times when people vote, they don't know what they're getting. It's somebody new, some people are different after they come into office than they were before. I've served before, and everybody, from my friends to my critics, will tell you that I have the professional demeanor, the right personality, and I'm a consensus builder that knows how to get things done on a commission. As I stated, one of my prouder moments is successfully chairing the Land Use and Development Committee for a period of years. And everybody that appeared before that board, whether it was the developers, whether it was the community groups, whether it was a quiet resident, always was given an opportunity to speak. We didn't need a resident's right to know when I was there, because if you were present at a meeting, you were going to be given the respect that you should get when you are faced with government. I'm here today because my love for our city has never diminished. It is well proven over many years. And we are at a critical time where we are losing some of our senior leaders, and we have the opportunity to have one back. So I'm here to ask you whether you vote on Election Day, November 7th, whether you request an absentee ballot or go to early voting. So please vote for a friend that has been there for many years, and a friend whose vote and support you can count on to do the right thing. Vote for Michael Gunpora for Commissioner Group 3. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming in. Special thanks to the Miami Beach Debate Team.